Okay, cadets, good evening. I have put together for you some laboratory safety rules. I'm very, very strict on these safety rules. I adhere to them very closely. And in addition to these general safety rules, we also are going to have the COVID-19 safety rules, which means you can't be next to your lab partner for more than 15 minutes. So that means you kind of get your supplies, do what you got to do, collect your data, and go back to your assigned seats. All right. Now, some of these safety rules are not going to apply to you simply because you are not female. However, I decided that I was going to keep all of them in there because when you do go to college, most of you will be in a co-ed situation. And it's important to understand big picture, all the safety rules for everyone. All right. So even though some of these don't apply directly to you, I am going to go ahead and include them. Okay. So number one, wear approved eye protection in the laboratory at all times. It's not only important for laboratory, but especially now with COVID, you're going to have more close contact, than you normally would, even though you have your masks. You just need to wear your goggles. Now, we will be sanitizing them between each and every class, and we are going to be doing a lab every other week. There are times that the lab, due to COVID and how I've had it set up, we may not always be at the lab station. It may be something you're completing at your desk. In that case, if you're at your desk and there's no chemicals involved, it's fine not to wear your eye protection. One of the things I need to stress to make very clear, if you wear contacts, I highly recommend bringing eyeglasses for the purposes of lab. If something were to happen and something were to get into your eyes and you have those contacts in, the very first thing you need to do immediately is take those contacts out. Before you tell me what's happened, before you tell your lab partner, as you're telling people, your hand needs to be going into your eyes and taking those contacts out. Because if anything gets up underneath there, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to go to your eye wash station and wash for 15 to 20 minutes minimum. All right. Always, when any incident occurs, call me immediately. But call me as you're doing the action to rectify the situation, meaning go to an eye wash station, going to a fire extinguisher, etc. Perform no unauthorized experiments. Observe all safety precautions that were presented in the experiment. So if it's not authorized, you don't get to do it. If you're using materials that you're like, oh, this would be super cool to do this, don't. If it's not part of the lab, it is not to be done under any circumstance. In case of fire or an accident, maybe you slip and fall, maybe you bump out of your chair or there's a fire, no matter how minor, you need to, in case of a fire, address that, attack that fire while you're calling me to come over to help. We have safety showers, fire blankets, sand buckets. It's just going to depend on if you're injured or if something is spilled, anything of those kinds. Immediately contact me while you're in the action of doing something about it. If you get corrosive liquids on your skin, again, you're going to wash with water for 15 to 20 minutes in the sink. Depending on where on the body, I'll guide you through that. But 15 to 20 minutes, no soap, no other chemicals to try to neutralize it, just plain water, 15 to 20 minutes. If it's spilled over a large portion of your body, you immediately need to remove all those clothings. I know a lot of people kind of cringe at that, but I'm telling you, if you got, acetic acid or highly concentrated acetic acid or sulfuric acid or hydrochloric acid on your clothes, you're going to feel it immediately and you will not care about taking those clothes off to get under the shower. Do not eat anything in the laboratory, please. This includes food or drinks or chemicals. And even if we're using something that normally you could buy over the counter in the store, like maybe cereal or Tums or coffee or what have you, if we're using it for laboratory purposes, do not put it in your mouth and ingest it. in the lab section, you may not have food or water of any kind in the laboratory. If you're someone that carries around a water bottle during school, please leave it outside the lab door as you walk in. Nobody's gonna mess with it. Nobody's gonna do anything to it, all right? And yes, I've actually had to include now the nobody gets to smoke in the laboratory. I know it's crazy, but it's there because someone's done it. Exercise great care when noting the odor of fumes. So what does this mean? This means you don't stick your face into a beaker or a test tube or a flask and sniff in. You're simply going to take your hands and waft the fumes to you to get an idea of what something smells like. And sometimes you don't even have to do it because some stuff is really super stinky. Now, when we talk about this in a not more detail, but when I kind of mention a few things in class this week, I'll demonstrate for you what I mean by wafting towards your nose. Your material safety data sheets, they are located in the classroom. Every laboratory has to have material safety data sheets, MSDSs, or just safety data sheets. It tells you everything you could possibly want or need to know about every chemical that is in the lab or in the stockroom. Now, I have moved it from the back of the classroom to the cabinet that's right next to my teacher station, and I'm going to explain to you what the function of that cabinet is going to be for moving forward. If a chemical cannot be disposed of down the garbage or down a drain, you'll know how to do it. We have organic and inorganic waste containers. I'm in the process of getting those set up, but I will explain those in more detail when we go through the classroom so you can learn where everything is in the classroom. But there's many times things cannot go down the drain. And in that case, we will have an organic and inorganic waste container. All broken glass, clean up immediately with a broom and dustpan. Please don't use your hands as a broom. Again, I've actually had to put this in here because you'd think it'd be common knowledge, but some people I've seen just try to use their hand to push it into a dustpan. We have a broken glass container located in the back of the classroom. It looks, as of today, it looked like it needed to be emptied, so I will handle getting a new container. When we're diluting acids and bases, and it won't be often that you do this, but sometimes you will have to do this. You never, ever add an acid to the water. The water to the acid. It's always the acid to the water. And if you think about this, if you had a glass of water and you were pouring some other liquid into your cup of water, if something is going to splash up and out of the cup, it's going to be the water that splashes, not the acid. So if you add water to the acid and something splashes up, that's going to be the acid that splashes up. So always acid to water. Test tubes or beakers or flasks or any container where an active reaction is going should ever be pointed towards anyone, 0 people. Because sometimes those reactions can be very violent and you wouldn't want something to pop out and get on your face or in your hair, etc. Number 12, this is the one that really doesn't apply to you guys, all right? Confine your long hair in the laboratory. Hair in your face can obstruct your view. This is true. Also, if you're using a Bunsen burner, we don't want hair catching on fire. Here's the kicker. Here's something that might apply to some of you. If you use for hair products, actually really any hair product, but specifically hairsprays or mousses or gels, those are highly flammable. So on lab days, I recommend not using them. Clothes, again, it doesn't really apply to you guys now. It very well may in the future though. I do not require lab coats. The school does not require lab coats. However, if you would choose to purchase a lab coat because you feel more comfortable in the lab using one so as not to mess up your uniform, some of the stuff we are using does permanently stain. All right. So if you wanted to get a lab coat, I'm perfectly fine with that. but it would only be used on lab days, which I've already put into the tentative schedule. You have to wear clothes that cover your body. Well, you don't really have a choice in that. You wear your uniform, but also, everything closed-toed. Again, you're good with all that. Right now, the only thing that really applies to you are the lab coats. If you want one, great. If you don't, that's fine too. We do provide for you goggles, which will be sanitized between classes. If you prefer getting your own goggles, that's okay as well. They're not very expensive, a couple of bucks. You can get them at Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, all those kind of places. You just have to make sure they cover obviously the front of your eyes, but also the sides of your eyes. The safety goggles they sell at Lowe's in the tool department, all of those are OSHA approved, and they're good to go. All right, now, never work in the laboratory alone. An instructor must be present at all times. So what does this mean? Let's just say, for example, it's change of class and I've gone to use the restroom and it's a lab day and I'm just not quite back yet. You are not allowed to start anything. I don't even want you in the lab area until I am in that classroom. Never, okay? Not a partner, not some other instructor who might have to be in there for some reason or another. Only me, okay? Now, organic chemicals are very flammable and toxic. There will be very few times that we use organic chemicals, and I will let you know well far in advance if you are going to be using organic chemicals, because they're highly flammable and highly toxic. Those labs need to be done under the hood, and we'll figure out rotation of that as we move forward because there's only one hood. Once COVID-19 is, we're out of the danger zone with that and we're full on again, it'll be much easier to accommodate. Obviously, the part of, well, never mind, I won't even get into that, sorry. If you are allergic to shellfish, I need to know, because some of the chemicals we use, if you're allergic to shellfish, you will be allergic in the same manner as these particular chemicals. And in that case, what we do is we just say, okay, well, your lab partner will be the one dealing with that particular chemical, and you'll just write down all the data. Now, I do need to adjust this a little bit before I upload it. Oh, no, I did already adjust it. Okay, good. So I'm going to ask you to print this out, and you're going to have to hand it to me on the very first day of class. I keep these all year long. I have them on file to grab. And what all this says is that, you have to pass your safety quiz. You've read this, you understand this, you know that willful violations will result in immediate expulsion from the laboratory that day. I don't take these rules lightly. Okay, so if I don't have this on day one, and I want you to hand it to me in class. So if you're at home on Wednesday, that's fine. The first day you're in class this week, that's when I want it in my hand, okay? And I will adjust that on the announcement I just posted. You have to sign your name, like print your name, sign with a signature, and the date. And I will keep them all year long. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me via email, or you can talk to me after class or before class, and we'll have an awesome semester and awesome labs. I'm really excited for this. Have a great night.